Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Spiritual Journey podcast. My name is Nimesh, Radia, and I'm your host. I always love starting every episode by saying thank you. I feel so blessed with this podcast. The impact it's having, the people it's reaching. When I started, I really wanted to simplify spirituality and guide people on their journey. I was guided to start this podcast with a voice and a message through the Akashic record saying my voice, my gift. And I really do feel blessed with the impact this podcast is having, the people it's reaching. The messages we get on a weekly basis is clearly having the impact that I wanted to when I began. So thank you. Thank you for everyone that supported this podcast. Thank you if you're a regular listener. Welcome back. And if you're new to this podcast, welcome. Well, I really hope you get some insights and some guidance on your journey. And thank you for being here. I am an Akashic record reader, Akashic trainer, podcast host, podcast creator, as well as a spiritual coach and mentor. I love what I get to do. I get to hold people's spaces while they're going through a transition, while they're going through a shift, guiding them to be their authentic selves, truly releasing the programming, anything you're holding on to, and shining your light unconditionally. I really do feel this is a period where we've been asked and pushed to be authentic and to be ourselves. And if we're holding on to anything, the universe is keeping us honest, and I get to guide people on their journey. And honestly, anyone that I work with, anyone we work with, I feel like it's a soul contract. And, I heal as others heal, and as I heal others, I heal too. So everything's a co-creation. And I love what I get to do. This podcast wouldn't be where it is today without my beautiful and stunning co-host introducing the amazing, the stunning, the hero extraordinary and published author, Stacey Brown. Stacey, I've got to do that, right? Over to you.
Hi,
Introduce yourself.
friends. So good to be back for another episode. Really looking forward to the journey that we get to embark upon every week. My name is Stacey. I'm an intuitive. I do readings for people from all around the world. It's incredible to think of the places that I've been able to serve because of this gift, and reaching so many people from different parts of the world has been an incredible blessing. I am also an Akashic record reader and a spiritual coach and mentor. And this space is near and dear to my heart, being on this podcast. Getting to use our voices to make an impact means so much. And so I want to thank you, our dear listeners, for being a part of this journey with us, this spiritual journey, because we're living it in real time as we're sharing with you our stories of healing. So I'm looking forward to getting into it today. Nims, how are you doing?
I'm good. I guess under full disclosure, we're recording this on the Tuesday before we release on the Monday. So Mercury went retrograde on Sunday. Today's 11/11 portal. Also, Jupiter went into retrograde, and it currently means six planets if you include Chiron as a planet, but I guess 5 planets plus Chiron all in retrograde. It just feels like an intense energy period. Retrogrades, a lot of people worry about retrogrades, but they're essential for shining a light on the things that we need to let go of, the things that we need to heal. So if you are feeling heavy, then maybe it's not just you, maybe it's also the times. And I guess that's why this makes this week's topic appropriate. It feels like it's a natural transition from what we talked about last week. So last week we talked about when the spiritual path feels heavy. And today is about trusting the unknown, living with our clear next steps. And it really does feel like a lot of people can relate to this right now, which is why we picked it. Last week's topic, it does feel like a lot of people are finding the current energy, the current path, the spiritual journey feeling really heavy. And now we're in a phase where we can feel so much shifting in us. We can feel so much happening, and we want to control it. We want to understand what's happening. We want to control the next steps. But really, we've been asked to let go, to trust the unknown, and maybe not having a clear step, because right now it's our expectations of what the future looks like. I feel like it's holding us back. And Stace being Stace, whenever we're recording a topic, she's always vulnerable and goes deep. I feel like I'd like to do I do the same, but she's definitely going through a very intense shift. And we started talking about it last week. And in all honesty, I asked her before. I was like, "Well, what do you want to talk about this week?" Because it's a raw topic for her. So, Stace, thank you for being brave, and really being embodying this trust in the unknown and living without a clear next step. So why don't we start with you
Yeah.
introducing the topic? What
I
does it
think
mean to you?
I think that this is something that's going to resonate with a lot of people right now. I absolutely feel in my interactions with clients and with friends, I'm hearing a lot of people saying that they're churning and they don't know what's coming next. And this overall feeling of a lack of control over the next steps, and maybe feeling like your world got turned upside down. And so I just want to start this off by saying, if you didn't listen to last week's episode, I've been super public about my personal life in this space. And I've done that because I'm living life out loud, and I want to document the journey in real time, the lessons that I'm learning, the path that I'm on. And I found such a beautiful connection with a soul in another part of the world. And I chose to share that journey with all of you through the last 2.5 years. And recently, very recently, and still very raw, I made that decision to end that relationship. And with that comes the decision to not move to the UK. And my friends, I'm churning about this because my partner didn't ask to live his life in the spotlight and didn't ask to have our journey put out there. And I know how tender it can feel when you're going through something. At the same time, I don't know how we can help one another heal if we're not open and authentic about the journey. Whether it's good, whether it's bad, whether it's deeply painful, I simply don't see how we can make the journey easier on one another if we don't talk about the painful things that are happening as well as the good things. And so I felt super prompted to share what's happening right now and talk about being in a state of not knowing what's coming next. I thought months ago that I was going to be living in the UK. The visa process had so many issues that got in the way of the date that I was supposed to leave, and it kept getting pushed back and pushed back. But from start to finish, as far as the journey goes, I should have already been living there. And now here I am. Not only am I not living there, but I have no plan now for next steps here. And I gave up a tremendous amount, my friends, in preparing for this move. Physical items, household items, like all my living space. I gave up a lot to be in this relationship and to move forward. And so I kind of feel like I've been hit with a baseball bat. I feel a little blinded by this, even though it was a mutual decision. And I feel scared. And I think it's really important to honor that, not to let it rule me, but to be open about the fear of what's coming next. This has been such a challenging season, Nims. I have, as one of my dearest friends, I've walked very closely with you on this journey. And you've seen me put my heart and soul into this relationship and into the plans to have this be something long-term and beautiful.
Yeah.
But there was something that I couldn't shake. And I believe at the end of the day, it's most important to be true to ourselves and to really listen to that inner voice. And I feel like that's what I'm doing right now. And so I'm going to trust that I'm being divinely guided, even when it feels very scary in the unknown. And I'm also going to try to really work on pacing myself. And for me, friends, right now, I can't even go a day at a time. I have to go a minute at a time. Sometimes I can do an hour. But I really have to pace myself through this time because there's fear about the unknown. There's anxiety. There's just this big blank slate, which feels like from the outside looking in, it should be exciting, right? Like, okay, I get to do whatever I want. But for me, I'm still grieving, and it's going to take some time. It's going to take some serious time, Nims.
Yeah, and that's one, thank you for being so vulnerable. Thank you for sharing as you always do. I do feel like vulnerability is your superpower. But interesting enough, there's always more than one person involved, right? And it's just when one person is sharing to hold space for others, but the other is pirate. It's always kind of an interesting dynamic. So thank you for sharing so bravely as you always do. And it's just I feel like as healers and mentors, we sign up to go through things at a deeper level. And everything you just shared about the unknown, about not having a plan, not having. I feel like at some level, I'm sure everybody can relate. Everybody can, in some way, it is an uncertain future. If you look at it from a personal perspective, I feel like everybody's going through a shift, as you mentioned. It's like so many clients, so many friends, and yourself included. I feel like it's like a tsunami of change for a lot of people, and for others, it's like the calm before the change, right? It's the calm before the storm. Feel like something's coming, but not sure what it is, and it's just we're all being asked to embrace the uncertainty. And then you add the planetary shifts, and how heavy it feels, and how it messes with our sleep, and sure, there's lots of videos you can find on social media, and it's all about this day and that day, and it's the most important day. And I just feel like it's a time, and it has been for a while, but this is more intense shifts. We're closing out cycles in a week that would have taken us months. We're closing out cycles in a day that would have taken us weeks, maybe months. It's just a very, very expansive time. And it's easy for me to say our soul, our spirit, our human can deal with anything. The universe won't give us anything we can't handle, right? But it's still hard on the human, right? It's that, and it does come down to our expectations. Stacey, your example of expecting to be in the UK, and now everything's all out in the open. And yes, you could get excited by it, but the human's used to a plan, and it's that kind of, are we okay with the uncertainty? Are we okay to let go and trust? There's a difference between waiting and stillness. I do feel we've been asked to be still, to be present, to listen to our intuition, to listen to our guides, to be nudged, to be guided so much more than ever before. I feel like a bright light is being shone on our darkest spaces. So if you're holding on to anything, a lot of the time we're hiding it from ourselves. So I guess the question to our listeners is, what are you running away from? What's the darkness inside you that maybe you've hidden away, that now light is being shone on you, being pushed to heal? Because I feel like we're all healing so much, and it's like anyone that says they're fully healed, I always have that little smile on my face thinking, I'm not sure. And maybe you are. Who am I to say? I just feel like the healing journey, the awakening journey is a lifetime thing. It's not a one-time thing. And I feel like our nervous system, our body, our physical body is such a clue as to what's happening inside and around us. And why do we look outside? Why do we go on Google? Why do we chat GPT, whatever? This is a time for us to listen to our body. What is your body telling you? What is your nervous system reacting to? How do you feel about the unknown? How do you feel about who you are in this moment? Have you taken time to get to know this version of you? I was talking to a client just before we started recording about how it's our stories that keep us stuck. I was like this 5 years ago, and I'm like this now, and sometimes it's good, sometimes it's bad. It just, it's not good or bad. It just is. The only version of us that we could focus on right now is this version. And, knowing that you've been through so much, knowing that you've been through so many rebirths, and you've released so many timelines and closed so many cycles, that this is a new version of you. And this version of you's hopes, dreams, wishes, expectations may be different. Maybe it's time for you to dream differently. Maybe it's time for you to embrace who you are. How much time are you spending on your own? How much time are you getting to know you? How comfortable are you with spending time with you? Who in your world allows you to be you, that allows you to be yourself, allows you to shine your light? Who in your world are you lowering your energy, your vibration, being somebody else to be around? You have so many clues around you in your external world. It's a mirror. So are you listening to your messages? Are you trusting your intuition? Stacey so rawly shared how she feels and what she's going through, and kind of how this time, all the best laid plans she had and expectations, but she listened to that nagging voice in the back of her head, which she could have ignored, by the way. So I guess the question to our listeners is, what's that nagging voice in the back of your head that you've been ignoring? Maybe it's time now not to ignore it, because I feel like the universe is going to push you to listen to that voice. And I'll tell you how I handle it, just so you know, is my deal with my guys is I'm just going to keep showing up, whatever that means, like showing up on this podcast. I'm going to keep showing up. And if I was to be honest with Stacey, I asked her before this, I was like, are you sure you want to record? Do you want to pick a different topic? Do you want to do something else? Do you want to? And she's like, no, we schedule time to record. I want to record. All right, keep showing up. That's the best thing. And she's the best example of what I feel like is the answer right now, is to keep showing up. Honestly, there are times that I could quite easily get back into bed and just call and just have a duvet day. And actually, if you feel like doing that, maybe it's not a bad thing. But I'm telling you, my deal with my guys is I'm just going to keep whatever way I feel like I need to. And some of that is spiritually, some of that is human. But just keep showing up, shine your light, be the example. It's like if you're getting lost in somebody else's emotion, somebody else's story, then you're doing that as a form of escape, because your answers are lying in you. Of course, hold space for other people, but don't do it at the expense of you. So, Stacey, what would your advice be to somebody that is maybe going through a massive shift, or maybe feeling this unknown? Can feel a shift, can feel something unknown coming, and want to really embrace it. What would your advice be?
Well, I absolutely feel the number one thing is not to avoid it. There is so much about this that is so painful, and I want to shove it away. I want to just ignore it or push it away or somehow bury it so that I don't have to face it. But doing that is limiting my experience. And there are lessons in this that I am meant to learn right now. And I know that. And so this is part of the process that I have to go through. So I would absolutely say, let yourself feel all of it. Let yourself grieve. I think it's really important to feel all the emotions that come with uncertainty or with change. Letting yourself process all of those things. I think another really powerful thing is to be open when you're struggling. I'm not saying you have to parade around the entire world and say, I'm hurting, I'm struggling, I can't do this. But reaching out to that network that you have, that support system, and saying, I need you right now, I think is really important. I've reached out to you, buddy, in the last little bit, even more than the normal. And, you've been there for me. And it's not necessarily that you're expecting anybody to be able to change what's happening, but reaching out to your people and allowing them to hold space for you is really powerful. I think another thing that needs to happen in a season of uncertainty is a balance between stillness and some sort of self-care routine. I've been hurting so much that I haven't even wanted to journal, because the idea of putting my feelings in another place, like actually seeing it in black and white, just felt so horrendous to me. But I took time today and did a little bit of journaling and mainly focused on my gratitude. What in today can I be grateful for? And getting super intentional and in the moment and thinking about the people who have been surrounding me and the support that I've received during this time. It's really significant. So that's some of my advice, Nims. I hope that helps. I really feel like a lot of it is about being patient, and that can be something that's really challenging to do. To be patient through the process and say, okay, I have to pace myself. And, this decision for Barney and I was just made a little over a week ago. And that's not a lot of time to grieve and to feel and to emote. And I was talking to a friend, a very dear friend of mine, who lost her husband. And she said it was months for her of grief and trying to release before she could get to a space where she was even able to start looking at next steps and what that would look like. So, my friends, I think everybody's journey is going to be different. But I think some of the foundational things I'm talking about can help anybody. So if you're finding yourself in a situation right now where you're uncertain of what's going to happen next and you're really churning, I encourage you to get still first and really surrender. Surrender the idea of what you thought your life was going to look like for whatever your higher power has in store. And really work on accepting that you're not in charge. That's what I'm working on right now, like recognizing I am not in charge. I am here to serve. And I am here to go through these life experiences and hopefully impart wisdom to those that come after me. That's what I'm here for.
Wise words, Stace. Thank you for that. And it's such an important message to embrace your journey, and it's hard, right? When you had expectations of what your life would look like, and we are so programmed to that life should be a certain way. Just you should be somewhere by a certain age. You should be, this, that, or the other. And it's just like, well, if you asked me, 30 years ago, where would my life be? I would have told you that, I'd be in a really senior role in the corporate world. I'd be married with a couple of kids, have a really solid relationship, and that isn't my world. It's not the reality of and the other powerful thing that I do quite often is talk to my soul, talk to my higher self, talk to my guys, talk to God, and having an honest conversation with yourself in the mirror about you are where you're meant to be, and just letting go of those expectations. I mean, this healing journey, I do feel like we say something similar in terms of self-care every week, but I do, repetition is mother's skill. The first step to any healing is becoming aware of who you are, and how do you become more aware? You change your question. If your questions are in a victim mode, why does this always happen to me? I knew this was going to happen. Then you're going to stay in that scarcity mode. If you change your question to, how is this serving me? Accepting in Stacey's situation, she made that choice. It doesn't make it easier, but also accepting that grief is a very personal process. There's no time. Everyone says, get over it or whatever. Everyone grieves separately. And, when you lose a loved one and they leave this realm, you grieve a certain way. But when you end a relationship, you are grieving too, right? You're grieving not just the loss of the other person, even though, they're still around on the planet, but you are grieving the loss of that version of you. So essentially, you're letting go and maybe even burying a version of you that you thought existed. From awareness comes acceptance. And that's what Stacey was talking about, is accepting where you are, who you are, knowing and accepting you're exactly where you're meant to be and nothing's missing. And those words are easy. You are exactly where you're meant to be and nothing is missing. I agree with those. I mean, they're something I talk about a lot. But for the human, sometimes it's hard. It's like when if you expect it to be a certain place by a certain age, or if you had expectations of what this week was going to look like, this day or this month, whatever, and it doesn't come through the way you want, it is frustrating. But what if it's meant to be? What if this version of you is exactly who you're meant to be? It's what your soul signed up for. It may not be what the human signed up for, but it is what the soul signed up for. And, this is a time where we're being asked to have trust. Stacey talked about surrender, to have faith. So what does surrender and having faith mean to you? As I asked earlier, what can you let go of? Because those are expectations that are like a noose around our neck that keep us stuck. And it's just, I feel like we're being pushed to let go of all these expectations and to just ride the wave and have faith. And I get that's difficult. But it's time to build a relationship with that inner guidance, your intuition. We talk about self-care every episode just about, but it does, it's like on this spiritual journey, your self-care is like your base chakra. It's like, it gives you a foundation. And if you don't have that foundation, that's when things start to crumble. And what do we mean? I mean meditation. I mean time with you, time in meditation, time in nature. Sure, doing some physical activity, walking, running, whatever resonates. But putting you first. Because what that does, it sends a message to your psyche, to your guides, that you're important. When you put everything else first and you stay in victim mode, then that's when you're like in a vicious circle. And again, like I said, maybe grief is not linear. This journey is not linear. So grief isn't black and white. It's not like, it should take you a week and then all of a sudden you move on. And everybody handles it differently. The way Stacey's handling it, Is she talking about it? She's using this podcast. She's using social media. She's talking about it because she also knows that she heals when she talks about stuff. Other people heal when they meditate and that. But the thing is, you have to find your way of release, because you can't keep everything inside. You're like a volcano. If you keep pushing things down, eventually it has to come up. So this is a time to build a relationship with you, to get to know you, to get to know your intuition. So in this moment, if you were to have a conversation with yourself, what does that conversation feel like? If you were to look in the mirror and have an honest conversation with who you are, what are the dark parts of your relationship with you that you're holding on to? Are you trusting your intuition? Ultimately, grief in this phase we're going opens up new space. As Stacey talked about, this could be a time she gets excited. But she's grieving that old version of herself. So maybe the excitement comes afterwards. Maybe the excitement comes in the moments. But what if you being asked to let go of that version of you opens you up to a new world you can only dream of? It's like death creates a void. And sometimes we want to fill that void, right? You want to end one relationship and jump into another. I feel like this is a time for us to get to know ourselves and have a relationship with ourselves. How do you know what you're looking for? And if you're in a relationship, I don't just mean partnerships in romantic way. I mean your relationship with the people around you, even if they're still in your world. How do you know if they still fit in if you don't know this version of you? And Stacey talked about, leaning on her friends and, kind of reaching out to me and all that much more. This is a time, as she talked about, is leaning into your support. What does your support system look like? And if you don't feel like you got one, then build one. Manifest. What are sort of type of relationships? And maybe this is a time to lean into your guides and be open to building a relationship with the other realms. I feel like this is a time our souls have been asking for. We're releasing so much karmic cycles. And it is painful because we're releasing a lot of ancestral cycles too, which means that actually we're releasing karma that's not even our own, which is why we're feeling things at such a deep level. But things like grounding, things like stillness, things like journaling really do help at this time, but also talking. But having an honest conversation with yourself, if you find yourself trauma dumping and feeling sorry for yourself, then I'm not sure how helpful that is. But if you're having a conversation around, how is this helping you? What are you ready to release? Getting to know this version of you, then that's what this phase is. Stace, how supported do you feel on the spiritual realm? Do you feel energies and vibrations around you? Do you feel like you're being supported? How are you kind of ensuring that you're staying spiritually connected?
I would say that's probably the biggest challenge when you're grieving and you feel so alone, to feel like you're not being supported would be kind of a natural part of the process. And my friends, I want you to know, I get it. I get that feeling of feeling like you're alone, trying to navigate. Nobody's there for you. I've just really leaned into my spiritual practices as much as possible. And this is where trust comes in. I have to trust that I'm being led on a journey that is for my highest good, whatever that is, and be open to what that looks like right now. And it's not easy because I was running with an idea in my head of what my life was going to look like. And it looks like the plan is very different than what I expected. But for me, my quiet time is really important. My journaling time is really important. I've been pulling cards pretty frequently, which allows me to feel connected to my guides as well. And I believe in the power of prayer in whatever form you might practice it, whether you call it meditation or connection, whatever it is for you. That for me has been very significant as well. And allowing myself a space to tap into my beliefs, really lean into my faith. Right now, you would think it would be even harder, but in some ways, I feel like it's the only thing I can grasp onto, like firmly. And so, if you're struggling with the spiritual aspect of things, friends, I would encourage you to make that part a priority, that you connect in whatever way you can. Like I said, it might be through written word, it might be through speaking, it might be through prayer, it might be through meditation, stillness, grounding, oracle cards. There are a million different things that we can be doing, but finding a way to connect with your soul family, finding a way to connect with your angels and guides, finding a way to connect with your higher power is so important when you're in a season of grief or loss or uncertainty. And so if you haven't been doing that lately, I would guide you in that direction ASAP. I will tell you that's what's been keeping me hanging on, Nims.
And isn't that interesting, right? It's that knowing that there's energies and vibrations out there to support you, having faith. Probably at the time when it's probably the most difficult, right? It's that, when you have certain expectations of how life's going to be and it doesn't meet those expectations, sometimes you question that faith, right? And but having faith, you're exactly where you're meant to be. And as Stacey said, she made that choice. Whatever situation, whatever you're in right now, somehow you manifested it. And it is serving you. And I know I trigger people, and I know I used to trigger Stacey when I say this sort of thing, is that, whatever you're going through, it is something your soul chose. And if it is painful, then know that you are being supported. But I do love the phrase, pain is inevitable, suffering is optional. So my question to you is, maybe you've integrated the pain and now you're in the suffering phase. And the suffering phase is when you stay in a situation that no longer serves you. So again, ask that question: what are the areas in your world that no longer serves you? Are you listening to the nudges, the messages? And it's like we get so excited when we see 111 and 222, and that for me is all messages that your guides are watching over you. But are you listening? Are you listening to your intuition? We're recording this on 11/11. It's a portal opening. Powerful time to manifest, but it's also a powerful time to let go. Moving forward. Stay said at the beginning. I mean, I've been saying to her all this time, one day at a time, one day at a time. And her feedback is, well, look, sometimes it's just an hour at a time. And what if that's enough? Our DNA, our ways is like, oh my God, we've got a plan. We've got a plan. We've got to have a plan. But what if this period is about not having a plan? What in this moment can you be grateful for? Where are you being guided? And what if you're taking one step at a time? Knowing that you're enough, knowing that you're loved, you're needed, you're wanted. If you're listening to this podcast, hopefully you're feeling the love that's coming from us. Hopefully you can accept that you are needed, you're wanted. We offer so many services. Maybe you want to book an Akashic record reading to get insight into your soul's journey. Maybe you're ready for mentorship, which is such a beautiful program to guide you to you. Maybe it's time for you to look for communities. We have a monthly full moon of webinar, which is free. I'm starting a spiritual journey membership. Look for groups and spaces that hold your space too. Look for people that lift you up. Somehow right now it's such a period where everybody's going through something, and there are some people out there that are choosing to stay stuck. And maybe they're not the right people for you. So, Stacey, as we start to close out this effort, I'm going to ask you any general prompts, and also kind of what are the messages and the nudges, and what are you grateful for in this moment that maybe you want to share?
So, in my journaling this morning, I said that I'm grateful for the friends who have surrounded me during this time. I'm grateful for a co-parenting relationship with my daughter's father that is peaceful and committed to what's best for her. And I'm thankful for the daily interaction with my daughter that I'm getting right now that I wouldn't otherwise have. So as far as journal prompts, friends, I kind of want to go back to some of the foundational things I was talking about. So the first thing is, what can you do to create more stillness in your life? What can you do to create more stillness in your life? So I want you to kind of evaluate what your routine is right now. Maybe you're doing things frantically. Maybe you're hustling. Maybe you've lost direction and you feel stuck. I want you to kind of evaluate where you are and how can you carve out more time to be still so that you can be present. Because when we're present, that's when we can listen to that inner voice, right? Guiding us. So that's the first thing. The second thing is, who supports you? Make a list of those people. And it might be a short list, my friends. My list is short. But make a list of those people who support you, that you feel you can lean into during this time where you're feeling lost. And start with those kind of prompts. Because right now, I feel like the most important thing is the stillness and then feeling supported that you're not alone. So I just want you to start in that space and see what comes up for you. I also want to remind you that Nimesh and I do a free discovery call. We do that connection call because we want to interact with all of you. We want to have that contact with you. We want to show you our support. So if you're on a journey right now and you're uncertain of what next steps to take, maybe booking a discovery call with us is that next step. If you're not ready for a discovery call, maybe you're ready for a reading. We do a beautiful Akashic record reading together jointly. That's a very unique experience and gives you some insight into what your soul has experienced in past lives, and also might help give you some clarity and direction in this life. So these are just some things to consider as you're moving forward, my friends. You don't have to go through this alone. I think that's the most important thing to remember. This is not something you have to face alone.
So true. I love the way you said that. You're not alone. When the path you're on dissolves, when you feel like you had a certain dreams, certain expectations that are not being met, remember you're not lost. You are exactly where you're meant to be. What if you're being led somewhere your mind can't even comprehend? And the unknown is kind of where you're at, it's what you're meant to embrace. Or if the unknown is not a punishment? What if this phase isn't a punishment? What if it's a sacred invitation back to your soul, back to you? What if whatever you're moving into is creating a beautiful space? It's in this space between what has ended and what has begun. Trust your intuition, trust your body, trust the signs. Trust the subtle pull to what's being pulled forward. What if you don't need to see what's coming? What if you don't need to plan what's moving forward? What if it's by embracing this moment, the magic and the beauty, the joy? That's why I asked Stacey, what's she grateful for? What are you grateful for in this moment? What if all that you're required to do is to stay open, to breathe, to keep listening, to trusting your intuition? The unknown is not empty. It's still alive. It's still full of possibility. What if the universe, your guides, is playing something in the background that's so magical that you couldn't even dream about it? What if things are taking shape in the unseen? I do feel like for a lot of us, things have been created, and it may feel like nothing's happening. But what if everything's happening? My friends, we love you very, very much, and hopefully you felt that through this episode, in both episodes. This is a really, really, really shifting time. It is a time to get to know you. It's a time for stillness. It's a time for you to trust your intuition. But it's also a time to to build your tribe, to look for those people that hold your space unconditionally. And they are out there. But you have to let people in. You have to open your hearts. You have to break down those barriers. And if we can help, as Stacey says, reach out. We love hearing from you. This is a trying time where you need support and help, but you need to be open to it. I know for me, as an example, I love to be there for everybody else, but am I really allowing other people to be there for me? And it's work in progress. But I'm more and more open and allowing people to be there for me. So we're sending you so much love and light, sending you the biggest hug, truly hoping you can embrace who you are. And, if this episode triggered you in any way, then, sure, reach out to us, but also be open to any traditional form. We always say, we're just guiding, we're sharing our intuition. If you feel like you need medical assistance, professional help, therapy, please get that too. Know there's a lot of support out there for you. You're being held. Also allow your guides, allow the realms to hold your space too. We're sending you so much love and light. Thank you for your guidance. Thank you for your love. And Stacey, I'm going to hand over to you too. Any final words? Over to you.
Such a powerful episode. And I was so nervous about sharing so vulnerably. But as always, I feel like the session was guided. And I feel like we were sharing exactly what was meant to be shared about this topic. And so my deepest hope is that we've touched the right people and we've allowed you a space to process some things that maybe you wouldn't otherwise process. We hope to inspire you on your own healing journey. Reach out to us if we can support you in any way. Thank you again for another powerful episode. Nimesh, couldn't do this without you, buddy.
Thanks, buddy. Thank you for being so vulnerable. Thank you for sharing your light. And everybody, again, we're sending you so much love and light. Truly hope you felt it. Bye for now. See you again soon.